I am here to tell you, I can echo what Mike Giardi has said, that the year one money is very important to Christian Gonzalez. And I think some of the stuff structurally with the contract, based on what I've heard, is at the center of these negotiations. And meaning that the setup of the deal is not wildly different from what the Patriots are accustomed to doing, but it is a little different. And Gonzalez is not budging. All right, it is Tuesday morning, August 25th, 2 days away from the preseason finale that I think, honestly, if you polled the Patriots and the Browns would just announce their starting quarterback to a 0.0, an Animal House rating and approval rating for that decision, Deshaun Watson back as their starting quarterback. I think they would skip. So we are not here to talk about the preseason finale on Thursday on short rest for the Patriots. We're here to talk about hot button issues with our guy, Fitzy, on another episode of the Pats Interference Podcast, part of the cultish Cock-a-Hoop, CLNS Media Network. My friend, have you ever heard the word Cock-a-Hoop before?
I am today years old, the first time that I ever heard the word Cock-a-Hoop before. And as a subscriber to the word of the day emails as well, none of which I'm going to fold into the batter of this conversation because I don't want people to click off this earlier than they should. I'm a poppycock type of guy, so therefore Cock-a-Hoop sounds like poppycock adjacent to me. So as the kids like to say, or at least they used to, I'm here for it.
So are you picking up your kids from school today?
No, my kids actually don't go back to school till a week from today.
Oh, okay.
Which is why I look like a prisoner in my office of ill-fated pop culture and sports decor.
Will you be in the car with them
today?
Yeah.
Oh, multiple times every day. Good. I mean, no, you're almost there. Once you have two, once you go from double coverage to man coverage, like there's not a moment where you're not Ubering somebody to a play date, and some sort of academic institution, or more likely than not, sports.
Okay, I would just like you to slide this word Cock-a-Hoop in casually, nonchalantly, and test a response, because I think they're the age to pause at the first part of this word Cock-a-Hoop and go, what? And then I need you to text me and see how that went, because I will tell you, Cock-a-Hoop means extremely joyful. It means triumphant, and you could play it off like, how do you not use the word Cock-a-Hoop? But I bet your kids will then adopt it, and I hope our listeners do here too. But we have
I was gonna ask you, like, were you on vacation in the Outer Cape and you heard the word Cock-a-Hoop and you were like, oh, I gotta
weave this one. The methods behind the stupid adjectives bit that we opened the show with.
There it is, Cock-a-Hoop. Cock-a-Hoop is an informal adjective that means extremely happy, excited, or boastful about a recent success. Wow, How about that? So therefore, I have to ask, in a transitional capacity, do you think that Elliott Wolf and Stretch are Cock-a-Hoop about the results and the reaction to the Kayshon Boutte trade?
Well, first of all, I'm putting you in a 1 minute timeout because we've already had hosts who do not listen because I just said the definition. So you are in a prison now in your office. Yeah. Number two, Elliott Wolf is speaking later today, and that is obviously why you brought him up. It is Tuesday. This is the last practice before the preseason finale. And here's the schedule. Elliott Wolf will speak at about like 1:30. I think it is 1:45. They'll practice at 2:30. Right before that practice, but after Elliott Wolf, the defensive coaches will speak. Practice, then players. And I believe Christian Gonzalez, I'm not positive, will speak after practice. Oh, and then Ryan Cowden, who I think you might have meant instead of Stretch, who just never talks to the media and is always kind of lurking, doing behind-the-scenes stuff, will also address the media. The beauty of this is, I actually had a hand in some of this schedule because I deal with the PR staff often as our rep for the media. And this is just background to say, at the suggestion of some colleagues who said, we don't really want Elliott Wolf on Thursday with the joint practice against the Eagles, and Drake May is going to go, why not next week? So I asked, they granted that request. Kayshon Boutte gets traded yesterday. As we know, Mike Vrabel dropped a big pile of verbal dog poo and then set it on fire in the laps of Elliott Wolf, who he had to go talk to about this, according to Mike Vrabel himself on the radio yesterday, when he said the team's not very deep. So we get two personnel executives. We get a guy who is back at practice with Christian Gonzalez. His comments all coming today in Foxborough. But because it is before all this, Fitzy and I are not going to talk about those things. I will have a short episode later today after practice and all these press conferences to recap a la 2 minutes training camp. And that is that. Let's do Kayshon Boutte right now, though, because the other topics that we have today, I'm going to keep a timer on this because you and I are not good individually, but especially like Avenger style long-winded and Avengers meaning like expert, all-time, powerful. Like, I don't know what our superhero names would be, but we go on and on and on and on together and draft off of each other in that regard. So we're going to put a timer on those topics, but not for Kayshon Boutte. I just noticed this for the video, folks. Your name here is Kayshon Fitzy. See, you are in mourning, I think.
That's not even the least whatsoever. And I think if you and I were 2 new Avengers added to the Thunderbolts who have become the new Avengers, who are going to be one of the cast of 75 to appear in Avengers Doomsday, which is probably going to be the most bloated film in the history of cinema. I think I would probably go by the Rambler, and you would be Captain Tragic.
What? Captain Tragic? Why? Is it the hair? Is it the fake negative news reporting I put in my career? Is that what it is?
Because you're part of the Pats media cartel, and you're just fanning the flames of dissent that has come from the ranks of Pats Nation following the Kayshon Boutte trade. Look, again, Callahan, I feel like this is one of those things that no matter how many times, whether you're making videos in your garage like I do, or you're on Media Hill and banging out 8,000 word columns somewhere between a workspace and NBC Sports Boston about everything going on at training camp. We've been, I'll go back to the Marvel Universe. I've been the Silver Surfer of this, just swooping in, heralding people, letting them know, like, guys, he's probably going to get traded. It doesn't make sense. There are 7 receivers in this room. They're not going to carry more than 6. There's upside and developmental potential with Chisholm and with Kyle Williams, but Kyle Williams, they're not going to go down, Aaron Dobson Boulevard. They're not going to go down Taylor Price Lane or Chad Jackson Avenue. They're not going to kick a second or third round receiver to the curb like they have in years past. His speed alone is what's going to keep him on the roster. And after the trade, so many people were just like, hurrah. Why didn't we trade Kyle Williams? Boutte is the best receiver on the team. Like, he's had a great summer. He's had a great camp. He had a great offseason. He's been showing up because he knows it's only going to enhance his value and improve the possibility that he does get traded. And when he gets traded, which ultimately happened, he's going to go pursue an opportunity to be a legitimate number 2 or number 3 and get paid as such. When the Patriots brought in Romeo Doubs on 4 years, $68 million this offseason, we should have all known they viewed Boutte, who, by the way, last year, his stats were very Dobson and or Kenbrell Tompkins-esque. Like, everyone needs to slow down and pump their brakes on this guy being Jerry Rice in 1987. 46 targets, 33 catches. Yes, I know he owns the right of catching the first professional touchdown of Drake May, and no one was happier that he got traded to Houston beyond Derek Stingley, because that guy's like, finally, I don't have to cover him deep when we play the Pats.
To that end, because this is just an outstanding stat I have to share. Derek Stingley has only allowed touchdown catches to 4 players in the entire league. Kayshon Boutte has done that twice. And just a name that people should remember, and as we talk about Christian Gonzalez a little bit later in these hot button topics currently at the end of the Patriots preseason, it's important to remember that sometimes the biggest plays stick in the memories both of fans, whether it's a playoff game or that first touchdown, as well as the executives. I know Houston made this trade because Jaden Higgins got hurt. The fact that he did that against them, I think, also greased the wheels of this trade, and yet the return speaks loudest here. So anyway, wrap up, and then I got to I think a lot of people probably were also surprised, the Boutte call came from old pal Nick Caserio. Yeah, well, that's because he saw Kayshon Boutte play his ass off a couple times against them and make some of his most dynamic plays against one of the top 5 cornerbacks in football. Was I surprised? Obviously not. Am I disappointed by it? To a degree. There's the relief of not having to make the bad Boutte jokes anymore. But more importantly, this guy gets an opportunity to thrive in an environment with an inferior talent at quarterback for sure, but he's going to be the number 2 receiver there. The second Jaden Higgins went down, you had to know that they weren't going to let Noel or the broken bones of Tank Dell, as talented as the kid is, try to be the number 2 receiver. This is a perfect opportunity for Kayshon Boutte to hopefully one day cash in Dobbs style, but it was not going to be here in New England. Now the receiver room is set. And so this is one less worry for the team that does have depth concerns to move forward with. And I don't hate the return. I would have liked a 2027 7th round pick, maybe, or maybe a 2028 6th. But as far as the player himself, there's a good chance the Patriots might be able to get some special teams and secondary depth value out of this kid, which is obviously a concern. Look at the way that they've all been
harumphing and crying and complaining about the lack of depth on this team, which you and I have been talking about, by the way, for over a year. What a stunning run they made last year, considering depth is probably concern number one across both sides of the ball.
Okay, let me stop you there real quick. Why would you get an extra 20 minutes of sleep if this was a 2027 7th round pick instead of a 2028?
Well, because everyone's been telling us, like, it's the draft of the century. That everyone, like, all the talent and like everyone's been making this 2027 draft out to be like 255 Luke Kuechly's and Jamar Chase is coming out of the draft, which is nuts. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be great, but like people have overhyped this thing to such a degree now, it's going to be almost impossible for it to live up to the reputation it's already garnered.
Okay. I'm going to go here for a minute.
Please.
And I'll give you a chance to stop me because I think it's really important for people in our space when trades like this happen to not do one of two things. One is to eulogize in the way, right? Someone passes away. You only say good things, remember the good times. I think that's largely good-natured, but we can also tell the truth post-death, post-trade, whatever it is. So we want to be honest in that regard. I also don't want to do the, post-breakup, oh, I'm better off without them anyway. I'm glad this happened. You know what? This is the best thing that ever happened to me. You know what? Like, it's a good thing he's gone. Because you stop me when you think I'm not telling the truth about Kayshon Boutte, who I will freely admit, I have had a harder time analyzing, breaking down, putting my finger on the person and the player, to the point I ate fake crow on this show almost a year ago. And I don't know how we're going to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of me cutting that up and eating it, but we'll find a way. So here we go. Stop me when you think I'm not telling the truth. Kayshon Boutte was the number 3 or number 4 receiver on this depth chart. Kayshon Boutte's skill set overlapped with several receivers in this depth chart, number 1 and number 2, A.J. Brown and Romeo Doubs, as well as Kyle Williams. Kayshon Boutte was on the trade block for months. Kayshon Boutte was Drake May's longest tenured deep threat with proven chemistry. Kayshon Boutte never had more than 600 yards in a single season. Kayshon Boutte had 7 games with 1 catch or fewer last season. Kayshon Boutte was not valued as highly by NFL teams as the rest of us on the outside. Kayshon Boutte returns a second-year safety who has some physical traits, some versatility, but was drafted after the Patriots took a kicker in the 6th round last year. That 2028 7th round pick is a fart in the wind. All right, we're almost there. Patriots Seahawks season opener. In the meantime, preseason football, baseball, the WNBA, and whatever you're watching as we all wait for kickoff, week 1 in Seattle. You got to jump on PrizePicks. And now is better than ever to jump on PrizePicks if you're new, because if you download the app today, you will get $150 instantly in lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. And here's how it works. You pick players who come with stats. You go more or you get less than that stat. And sometimes you can even tweak the number. If you don't like player numbers and stats, fine. You can go winners or totals or spreads, all at PrizePicks, America's #1 sports pick app. We're doing picks on the Pass Interference podcast for every Patriots preseason game and regular season game. So you can ride with my picks, you can fade them, you can show me you know better, or Efton Chisholm's going to go off, or actually be Romeo Doubs, whoever it is, you can make your picks over at PrizePicks. And if you sign up now, again, this is the deal. Download the app today, use code CLNS to get $150 instantly in lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. One more time. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $150 instantly in lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, America's #1 sports pick app.
This man tells no lies, Your Honor. That was a rock solid deposition. At no point did the needle move on the lie detector.
Very good. So, in these instances, the other thing that I think media, and I include myself in this, the thing I cannot stand are writers, podcasters, people on TV talking about the media as if it's a separate entity from which they are not a part of. No, I'm in this group. Things we tend to do are underestimate how difficult sometimes it is to make a deal. And this is just not understanding the dynamics, the relationships, the inner workings. So let's say when Elliot Wolf talked later today, he sips a little bit of the truth serum that Mike Vrabel took a shot of before he went to the podium after that last preseason game. And he said, look, the market spoke. The room was stacked. We had to get rid of someone. He was redundant, okay? He didn't play special teams. My thing is, why now? So that's the return. Okay, there's nothing you can do about making calls and making calls and making calls. You didn't believe in him as much as maybe you should have. Fine. But the league definitely believed less. Efton Chisholm and Kyle Williams, I don't think they need to be precious about. I think they fit their roles as a 5th and 6th receiver on a depth chart. But if you have to part with one and you're trying to win a Super Bowl this year, you can't make the case to me that Efton Chisholm and Kyle Williams give you a better chance to do that than Kayshon Boutte. Now, the timing to me, though, is the most curious thing here. Because, okay, you'd rather keep the younger players, the cheaper players, longer contracts for the two of them, fine. If you're going to trade them to a contender anyway, which they did, the Texans are a contender, why not wait until the trade deadline when, A, the market should expand, when other teams like the Texans just experienced lose a receiver, so your market expands. In that time, he provides proven depth in case you lose a receiver, because it's not like Jaylen Reed and a 7th-round pick wouldn't be there in November on November 10th. And if your argument is I went back and forth with someone on Twitter for the first time in ages the other day, well, you think his value would get, greater if he's riding the bench? No. Do you think his value could get lower when this was the return? So I just don't find a lot of things persuasive about this and the pushback that I've got. But what do you make of that, the timing part specifically?
As a matter of fact, I even kept this tweet of yours up. You were you quote tweeted yourself, and then I see the guy at Dunzo D, who you went back and forth with for a while. The market clearly spoke with this return and how long Boutte was available, several months. Other teams didn't want him, but on top of selling for a blah return that doesn't solve big issues, why now? It's a great question to ask. I left that open all night long, looked at it, reviewed it again this morning, and I think it's quite simple. The Patriots do not want to, because Mike Vrabel loves a clear line of communication, and he loves locking the roster, definitive process. I don't think he wants to have any lingering. He doesn't want to have to run the risk of putting Kyle Williams or Efton Chisholm or someone else that he thinks may be part of the short or intermediate future of the Patriots on the block or out there for someone else to snag. You're not keeping 7 receivers. 6 is still the high mark with most teams in the NFL these days, regardless of someone's special team value. This now removes any doubt. This is not, he's not going to have to turn on the radio station I used to work for, or the other radio station that I haven't worked for, and hear what's going to happen with Boutte? He's not getting the opportunities. You're right, Mike. He's not. I don't know about this one, Pats fans. What do you think? That's it. It's done. It is over. It is removed. It is no longer part of the equation or the calculus. You know which 6 receivers they're going into the season with. And as you pointed out earlier, now Drake can clearly have a pecking order as to who's his 1, who's his deep guy, who's his short to intermediate guy, who's this guy, who's that guy. You have a pecking order, you have a room. There's no doubt, no reason to have anybody wonder. So chemistry is established.
Kayshon Boutte in the room, because
yes.
I watched him play with the starters after Brown and Doubs, and play with the second team, which to me says exactly what he was. He's the number 4 guy in the room. And look, they could move Doubs into the slot and play Boutte outside. This idea of, they had other X receivers. Yeah, they had outside guys in a surplus. No debate there. But if you want to have a debate about the better receiver between Kayshon Boutte and Romeo Doubs, and I've always been a Pop believer through some of the struggles and the fit in the offense. I don't think.
Are we taking the cheese, Callahan? Are we taking the cheese this offseason? I think this will be the 4th offseason in a row where we all say the same thing. I don't know. I feel like this is going to be a big Pop Douglas year.
Well, and here's
Andy Hart used to always say, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And then he would say, I think this is going to be a big Tyquan Thornton year when we were doing 6 rings. And I'd be like, damn it. Stop it, Hart. Stop taking the cheese. But with Pop Douglas, I don't know. I saw enough key plays last year that I'm willing to get hurt one more time saying, Callahan, I think this is going to be a big Pop Douglas year. And also, just for dad jokes that you've made alone, and of course, I've never been more proud of you on Twitter, maybe this is a bigger vote of confidence practice squad-wise for he's not delivery, he is DeGennaro. Everyone needs, again,
No, look, I'm proud of that joke. I said it on the show already.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to discuss it in a serious way.
No, he's not that's not a serious element in the past.
Here's the thing,
though. This is the room now. That's it. No more wondering. Will Boutte get traded? Will he not be? Is he unhappy? Is he going to start making noise? He's not going to go full Carl Everett and freak out on everybody. But is he going to be like, hey, I'm not getting my looks. I only got 46 targets last year when I was the clear number 2/3. Now I'm a 3/4. And AJ's getting all these looks, and I think beyond massive incoming season for AJ Brown. And I've already gone on record saying that I think Romeo Doubs will set career highs across the board, may sniff 850 to 900 yards and possibly double-digit touchdowns because of the AJ Brown effect. What's going to be left for Boutte to feed on?
Pause.
Sorry. Okay. What would have been left for Kayshon B?
Look, I don't think that bothers the Patriots, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't think Kayshon Boutte really has any recourse here as much as Todd Downey's talking about. I'll use this example of a guy who wanted to be traded for months, made the request in April. Yeah. The Patriots tried in April, May. Since then, obviously made a deal yesterday to make it happen. Okay, you're the fourth receiver. You want to get traded. What are you going to do? If you and Drew Rosenhaus want to go into the driveway and you want to start doing sit-ups, TO style, good on you. It'd be fun. It'd be a nice little Throwback Thursday video if we're still making those. And to me, if you're the Patriots, you just said, look, we got 2 months until the trade deadline. You've been here, you've hung on, you've had a good camp. I understand what you want. We're still going to make that happen because the deals that we're getting now will be there later. In the meantime, you win. In the meantime, we get other teams, which frankly, if I'm the Patriots, I do not want to send him to Houston at all because that is a team that would scare me. And I get that CJ Stroud looked like a mole for the Patriots, hired by Mike Vrabel to play quarterback in that divisional round game. But here's the part about this that I think is under discussed. And it relates to another take that I've heard that I just want to dismiss. And I do think money factored here. And this is cheese in the sense of you will hear that on radio about anything because on 98.5, and it actually didn't come up on TV last night with Felger, like any chance you get, any little morsel to turn into the crafts are cheap conversation, they will take and run with and gorge on. The fact that he is making over $3 million as a player that they could make the case, if you're Elliott Wolf going to ownership and be like, okay, look, this is the offer. It's not good enough. We'd like to wait. We'd like to keep him as a depth piece and trade him a little bit later. And if the response from them is, okay, so we're going to pay him close to $2 million to sit on the bench when we have a guy who's going to play over him and Kyle Williams. No, we're not going to do that. And that to me, especially as you get closer to the season and you start paying these guys game checks, is persuasive. Not to mention that they are dealing with upfront things that I will talk about a little bit later with Christian Gonzalez and cash flow. I think that's a real factor here because that helps answer the question of why now. I don't think it's about the pecking order. I think that's established. That's known. The reason Kayshon Boutte wants to get traded is he knows he's not as good as AJ Brown and Romeo Doubs. And even if he thinks he's as good as Doubs, nobody else in the building does. And this is the last point I'll throw the ball back to. The take that I've seen that is adjacent to this that I just do not find persuasive at all is that, well, they wanted to do right by the player. They wanted to do the generous thing. This is the NFL, okay? I know they've been practicing in the summer for the last month. This is not summer camp. They do not deal in generosity. They deal in equity. They deal in money and championship odds. They lost this trade, lowered their title equity by getting a worse player and a who cares about draft pick. In this instance, what is the material benefit of Kayshon Boutte being a little bit happier? Like, this is a serious question I have to those folks. He says nice things about you to the press. The agent cuts you a favor next time. You get a better reputation around the league. Look, that agent is going to act in their self-interest, just as Kayshon Boutte did here. And here's the other part of how you know this isn't true. If Kayshon Boutte said, please, please, please don't trade me. Don't trade me. They would do it anyway because they didn't believe in him, as you can see by the return and by them signing Romeo Doubs and trading for AJ Brown. They would have shipped him wherever they wanted him to go. They couldn't because the market wasn't there. And as soon as the market showed a pulse, a twitch, they jumped on it, activated that, and took the trade. Your reputation, by the way, oh, he'll say nice things, it'll get around, is your coaching quarterback. People come to play for those guys, as we saw when Belichick was here and was a bitch to deal with at the negotiating table, to agents who complained to me at the end of his tenure about dealing with him. But people love Brady. People love Drake May. That's what they'll come to play for. The idea that they're doing right by the player, teams act in their self-interest. The one time they'll do this is when we're all feeling generous, the holiday season. You know, Fitzy, you're close to a $100,000 bonus, but you missed by 2 snaps and 2 rushing yards. You know what? Here you go. We're going to the playoffs anyway, baby. Here's the extra money. That's when they're generous. It's not why they did the deal.
No, there is no way, shape, or form the Patriots did this deal to say, hey, Kayshon, thanks for rewarding us with a receiver who more looked like the guy that had 300 yards his freshman year at LSU than the guy that was not a fit in the Brian Kelly system, and people wondered if he'd even get drafted overall. Thanks for being more like the guy that caught those balls over Stingley than the guy who couldn't get the second foot inbounds against the Eagles in the first game of 2023, thus earning you a trip to Belichick's doghouse for the majority of the rest of your rookie year. Now, the Patriots have this is football, okay? This is the RJ Reynolds, this is the Philip Morris of professional sports. It does not care. It just wants you hooked and addicted, and it wants you to stay tuned as long as possible. So if anything, they probably like the drama. Hell, maybe this came from a script doctor who did a page 1 rewrite on the Patriots season a couple of days ago at 345 Park Avenue for everyone who believes that there are conspiracies in the NFL is scripted, which it's not. No. But that said, like, we're talking about a sport that is so ruthless. There's no time to discuss this today, but there was a report in the New York Times now that a long-term study has revealed that 1 in 4 professional football players now will develop some sort of degenerative brain condition. Like the NFL is blanked up in so many different ways. And yet here we are talking about it, living it, loving it, and can never get enough of it. So as far as, doing right by the player or trying to make more, congratulatory touchdown-based kumbaya, that was not part of the calculus. It should never be entertained again. No. This was, like you said, we tried to trade him. The rest of the league doesn't think as much of him as we did. The rest of the league certainly doesn't think as much of him as he and his agent and representation and family think of him as well. So, yeah, like you said, the second someone showed interest because it was need-based with Jaden Higgins, who had the potential to be a decent number 2 receiver this year, going down, then yes, Caserio got on the phone, talks to Wolf and Cowden and company, and they struck something resembling a decentish deal so that the Patriots could just move on from it and be done with the drama they're in. I'm not so sure the $2 to $3 million cash factored in, though. It seems like the Patriots and Kraft will always cry poor, which is another one of these long lingering storylines. I just think it was as simple as when Doubs was signed, you had to know Boutte was going to be playing elsewhere this year. If possible, the Patriots told you with $68 million, and I don't know how much upfront and guaranteed, they valued this player more than they valued Boutte, because Boutte certainly would have said, oh, 4 for 60. Hell yeah, I'll sign that. They didn't think he was good enough to be a 2/3 in this system behind A.J. Brown. Period. End of story. Thank you very much.
Yes. And look, I want to circle back to something that I said earlier, that people in my chair and in other chairs on other podcasts and writing other articles underestimate sometimes how difficult it is to make a deal. I am not against trading Kayshon Boutte. I always thought he would be gone. What I am against is right now the timing of this deal. It didn't feel like the deal to make, and certainly not the deal right now. I think there's a greater material benefit, receiving yards, a red zone threat, a guy you trust in 2-minute with your quarterback, especially when they're going to be on the road as often as they are early this season, in those first 8 games, then whatever Jaylen Reed is going to give you or not give you as the third safety for a defense that primarily plays out of 3-corner nickel, meaning just 2 safeties. And I know that Kevin Byard is, like, by NFL standards, got a Santa gray beard. Okay. He's 30, whatever. But Craig Woodson played in every single game last year. Byard has been healthy virtually every single year of his long career. And honestly, like, let's do the Jaylen Reed thing now. How much do you know about him? Because he's a Patriot. Kayshon Boutte is not. Like, I think we've covered Boutte. Did you do any research? I
think beyond the fact that Boutte and Reed were taken, correct me if I'm wrong, were they not taken with the exact same pick in different drafts? 6th round pick 187. I think they honestly both were, like, drafted in the same, that may be, I mean, we could probably get stats and research on that. Maybe Hembo will chime in by the end of the pod. But aside from that, no, I don't know much. I know he's a big dude. I know it's more special team. Played last year, got into 7 games, 14 tackles, had 2 tackles or 2 assists, I believe, in the playoff game against the Patriots. Aside from that, to me, all this screams, all this reeks of is depth. We kept hearing about, why did they let Hawkins go? Well, because he wanted to get a bigger check. That's why. And they decided to bring in Byard because he's a Vrabro and he's dependable, even if he's a little suspect in coverage at times, which hopefully doesn't get exposed this upcoming season. They want some youth they can develop there, because I believe they have the youth they think they can develop with Williams and Chisholm and Pop Douglas in the wide receiver room right now. To me, that's why they made the deal for this particular player. And also, like, oh wow, New England's receiver room looks like it's got tons of great depth. Yeah, there's like a Texas defensive cologne, if you will, because that defense was so nasty that I think probably enhanced this guy's value coming out as a possibility in any trade.
Yeah. So research was on that and can confirm both selected with the 187th pick. So well done by you.
Wow. Every now and again, boy, a broken VCR is right twice a day, and Fitzy gets a stat right.
Yeah. A VCR?
I should have said clock, coffee maker. Okay. Yeah. I'm
dude, VCRs ever.
Come on, dude. I'm old. This is like people now call me Uncle Fitzy, and I don't even have. I mean, it's a thing. Anyway, yeah. So I got that one right, but I think that's. Correct me if I'm wrong, Callahan. That's the book on this guy heading into what'll be his first practice with the Patriots.
So I watched some Jaylen Reed film yesterday. And
what'd you think?
Like the draft slot, I can confirm a lot of what you said. Here's the deal with Jaylen Reed. He is a number 3 or number 4 safety who was kind of buried in Houston, which signed Reed Blankenship as a free agent from Philly to start for them. He's 6'1", 212, played in those 7 regular season games, made 14 tackles, then started 2 playoff games due to some injury concerns that they had. He is aggressive. He was a height, weight, speed prospect that went a little bit later than people expected coming out of Penn State, where I also have some contacts and heard some good things about him as a person.
Well, we know why people play aggressively coming out of Penn State.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
He missed
okay.
last year 20% of his tackles. Don't love that. Now, small sample, but he missed 15% of his tackles in college, according to PFF. In coverage, as a guy who is a little bit better in the box, just like Del Pettis, the other number 3 or number 4 safety on this depth chart. In coverage, he allowed catches on all 12 targets he saw, including Buffalo. Don't love that. Now, again, small sample. He's a rookie. Year 2 leaps. We've talked about him. You've heard about him. They've been rumored. Maybe he makes one. We'll find out. We
celebrate and admire consistency here, do we not?
We do. He did split his time between the box and free safety, even took some slot snaps in man-to-man, covered Stephon Diggs actually in the playoff game. So he was around. And the word I would use is fine. Like, this is, as you said, a depth player. He's had 1 pass breakup in the preseason so far. It was nearly an interception. It was a bad throw. But they obviously saw him meeting Houston as expendable. Is he better than Del Pettis? Maybe, but I don't know. And not right now. And probably not for the next couple of weeks as he learns the system and gets to coordinate in that defense where communication between the safeties is absolutely vital. The thing is, if you were going to acquire just a depth piece, again, I don't know that safety was it. And I will tell you, though, that clearly the Patriots disagree with that sentiment to a degree because they just got one. And they do not think as highly of John Saunders Jr., who has gotten a few stands among my colleagues for his 5 interceptions. And look, Kevin Byard was pumping his tires the other day. Clearly, with this trade, they do not see him as valuable. He's going to be outside looking in, spoiler alert, when I do my 53-man roster projection after this preseason finale on Thursday, and I pod solo on Friday. So you could take it as it reinforces the idea they'll get more multiple, which I've discussed on the show. A little bit more 3 safety nickel than 3 corner and maybe some base, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. It's just not going to happen so fast, and he's behind 2 guys who play all the time. So that's the part, in addition to everything we covered about Boutte, that I didn't love, and you would have preferred another position. But beggars can't be choosers and choosers or speakers.
No, but I will say, I want to reply to everybody who across any social media I may have distributed yesterday and or what I read in other people's tweets, videos, and such. Nobody was going to give you your pass rusher of the future, folks. Nobody is in the business of trying to make the Patriots better for free. No one else sees Kayshon Boutte as the receiving superstar of the future. Like, he's not even JoJo LaFell at this point. Like, he's a good number 3/4 receiver.
I kind of like that comp though.
Actually, yeah, maybe that could be his ceiling. And you know what? That dude also make humongous catches in the divisional round and caught the first touchdown in Super Bowl 49. Great stat about Brandon LaFell as well. So, you know, like that good ceiling for him, but like nobody was going to give you Caleb, you know, another offensive tackle. Nobody was going to give you the pass rusher of the future. And I'd like to ask you this as we put a button on what we said would be 10 minutes of Boutte talk, and we're getting into almost a half an hour, but that's okay because it's a hot button topic and we press hot buttons like nobody's business around here. Do you think adding more depth at safety, and especially a guy who's a little bit bigger and probably hits a little bit harder,
he does.
You know, again, Texans Cologne, D'Amico Ryan style, do you think this says more about the way that they're going to play this year and how they view their linebacker room? Because you want to talk about one of those places where the depth is thin, like real thin, like too much GLP-1 in the linebacker room this offseason.
First of all, I love that line. Second of all, yeah,
This podcast brought to you by Brozempic. Hey, does a guy you know need to lose weight? Grab Bros. God.
He's in the mirror.
Come on, you're a dad. It's okay.
I know, and sitting in the car a lot. Anyway, look, as the guy who has said that there are signs of some fundamental shifts here defensively or expansion, again, with their personnel usage and the 3 safety nickel, a little bit more base.
Right.
I want to say yes, but the signal for such a change cannot be a 6th-round pick from a year ago who had 14 tackles in the regular season and be like, they got this guy with 2 weeks to learn the playbook before the opener. This is their big plan. Because clearly this was not the intent all along. If they had traded for him in April and done this deal around the draft when Kayshon Boutte would have liked, the Patriots would have liked, I would take that more as this is planned, this is what they want to do. But it is interesting you bring up the linebackers because I think at these positions, and probably more in the edge, where I've been talking about for weeks, playing a lot of 3D tackle looks, and even sometimes in nickel and sometimes in base. So they only have to play one edge defender.
Yeah.
They're going to have to paper over one position by stretching another a little bit more. Is it the 3rd linebacker?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the 3rd D tackle? Is it the 3rd safety? Maybe it is the 3rd safety, but I just can't imagine that's Jaylen Reed for the early part of the season. Again, as he just has to acclimate and learn the playbook. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm open to being wrong, but that is absolutely a factor. The depth on defense, which just got knocked over and over and over again by Philly in the first half of that game, and in joint practices. I said this last night on TV, and it might be in my notes later, but I'll get it out now. Someone who rewatched day 2 of those joint practices, and I look at all the one-on-ones, but they have the better info, said that the Patriots defensive line won 20%, 20, of the one-on-ones against the Eagles offensive line in that joint practice. One day, it is one drill. But this is a classic example of, I talk about all the time, small sample. When the small sample is that strong, that says something. Okay? Yeah. This is the guy jumps in to play pickup we've never met before. And within 5 minutes, he's got 2 dunks, 2 steals, and a couple of 3-pointers. He can hoop. I don't need to see any more from that guy. They couldn't get around the Eagles, have a good offensive line, yada, yada. But the point is that that's the depth I think Vrabel was, upset about more than safety. Mm-hmm. But they didn't address that. They got a safety. So
and also the way that that's a concern. And also yesterday, a very busy. I know you're heading up there for an incredibly busy day, and you'll have the post convo, post presser pod. See, it's difficult to say these things, even when you consider yourself a master of alliteration. Yesterday they're bringing in Conley, because they need interior depth because Ben Brown's down and could be down for a while. Marcus Bryant rolls an ankle; he could be hurt for a while. So now you got to bring in more they signed that guy that played with the Giants last year, 36-year-old veteran, the quintessential veteran journeyman tackle from the in the NFL. Like guys on the offensive line have been dropping like flies. Crown over is more like run over. Lomu is more like slow moo. They have you better hope right now nobody gets hurt on this offensive line, because if the New England Patriots backups are playing other people's starters, it's going to be a long season. The only backup, to be completely honest, I've been impressed with Ben Jarvis, Jam Miller. Looks like the kid's a decent. It looks like that's exactly his running style, and there's a reason why I'm happy to call him that. Yeah. And also, Cutlets doesn't look like a bad backup quarterback. I don't want to. I know, and he can scoot too. By the way, I know everyone thinks it's the hands. Is he into the North End? Is he at Federal Hill? How about his funny agent with the hat and the suit? No. Kid can play. The kid can absolutely play, but we don't want to see him doing anything more than a victory formation knee or coming into a game because Drake is tired and the Pats are up by 24.
Concur. All right. Okay, I am starting the clock. Topic number 1. Based on everything we've heard and seen, Patriots are just not going to play any starters in the preseason. This is not a new phenomenon if you're watching other teams or you are, hopefully, unless it's on PrizePicks, throwing some money around as you watch preseason football. But it is new here, and it is very much a departure from what we have seen with the Patriots. And to an extent, Mike Vrabel, he did this a little bit at the end of the Tennessee. Anyway, how much do you care about this? The idea that the starters are going to get no reps in the preseason?
A ton, because I think I'm with Giardi's tweet the other night, preseason football games are intolerable at this point and should be done away with, pitched into the landfill and Haverhill or fired directly into the sun. It's awful. Like there is no point. I'm with Felger and Maz on this point as well. They are just a money gouge. They are just, you have to buy them with your season tickets, and all people want to do is give them away or make them a promo. They're a waste of the preseason games are now officially a waste of time. All the juice that's worth the squeeze comes from the joint practices. That's why you saw in excess of 10,000 people last week in the stands lining the practice fields outside of Gillette by the fancy New Balance practice facility. Like, that's the fun stuff to watch, because that's when people are really getting after it and trying to make plays. When you see the ones on the ones, and they'll even tell you that's where the iron gets to sharpen the iron. Otherwise, and I love the alpha on alpha action, and everyone was like, oh, the Patriots won both of those practices. Pump the brakes, guys. They had a good day Wednesday, not so great a day Thursday. I think preseason football now they should whittle it down to 2, and then the NFL is going to go, excellent. Now we can have 18 games. Good job, Fitzgerald. Just do away with it altogether and just make joint practices. Charge $20 for them. Put them in the stadium. Make it a bigger slap and tickle. I can't stand the preseason games. There is no point whatsoever to them now. And the fact that the Pats are playing no starters, tell me you don't care about these games without actually saying the words, hey, Karen, hey, Soph, hey, Callahan, I don't care about these games.
So, look, I think I agree largely with what you've expressed. Mm-hmm. And I'm caught between the ungrateful feeling of being like, oh, I have to go to work and watch a game, like, F me. This is my job. I am so incredibly lucky. But it is hard to care to an extent about games that, as you said, certainly on a competitive level, that the team does not care as much about. That said, there are jobs still won and or lost by the performances early in these games at positions where they need bodies and they're not happy with the depth, the word of the week at those positions. And you have guys battling it out. Chad Muma, for example, has fallen off the cliff, maybe off the depth chart based on these preseason games. And it's not because Chad Muma was going to change the course of the season, but that puts KJ Britt in that spot. And you never know who you're going to need later in the season. But some of those guys are playing these games right now. All of which is to say, the 2 areas that I really do care about this are for positions that, like, it's really hard to simulate, even in a joint practice, what you're going to do come the regular season unless you play preseason football. So, like, kickers, no. Punters, no. Hunter Henry was even like, nah, man, I'm good. This is year 11. He's experienced. If you're experienced,
why does he need to get a stinger or roll an ankle? Yeah, or like a bruise on his glute. Like, leave him alone.
I care about this for the offensive line, which is inexperienced, needs the physical reps, and the timing specifically for the run game. This is a text I got from a rival coach who has studied them from afar. And this is pretty generic stuff, but I think important for what they want to change in the red zone specifically, as Hunter Henry said yesterday. We had to get better in the red zone. Okay, specifically how? We got to run the ball better. Quote from this coach: offensively, if they can run the ball, they will still be very good. If they can't, and defenses can play them in split safety and stop the run, it will kill the pass game too. I think that's a little hyperbolic, but the point of, if you're Seattle, yeah, split safety sounds fine. We don't want to get hurt by A.J. Brown. You want Jared Wilson and Will Campbell and Elijah Vera Tucker to come run over Leonard Williams? Good luck. Yeah. So that battleground early will be a real test. Can they run the ball? And they just don't have those reps, because even the running backs stop at contact, more or less. They're not going to the ground. They're not fighting for those extra yards. It's hard to know where the running game is unless you play tackle football. Even in the joint practices, they're not going to the ground. So that's the only area where I care. Everything else, forget about it.
If going forward, it was just 2 games, and most coaches, like, they don't have to collude over this. This doesn't have to be, this doesn't have to be in binding arbitration or the collective bargaining agreement. But if you right now, copyright 2026. Thank you, PrizePicks. Good job, Kayshon, Fitzy, and Callahan. Like, if you're just going to say, like, okay, we got 2 games. Like, our starters are going to do all the joint practices, and they're going to be up to speed and ready to rock and roll come early September, no matter how out of practice or out of shape that many may think that they are, because they haven't gotten live theater game reps. They're getting them on the field. They're fine. I'm not worried about Hunter Henry showing up, or I'm not worried about Morgan Moses showing up, or I'm not worried about Kevin Byard. I want less gas burnt from their tanks. I want this to be the battle of 46 to 53. That's exactly who. So you got 90 guys out there competing for 10 spots. Basically what it turns it into, the 2 exhibition games are just like football Hunger Games. Like, may the odds be ever in your favor and go out there and win a job, kid.
So we're a minute into the next segment. So I had to start the clock, and it's my fault. I gave you, a grenade that had been pulled 4 seconds ago, and then gave it to you.
Yeah, you threw the grenade in the room, walked out, and then yelled grenade. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all. It's all. People should be in on our pre-show prep tour. Like, we'll do 30, 45 minutes tops the next morning. It's gonna be all good. Like, we could do 3 hours. Like, why don't we have a radio show?
Yeah, it's always like, I'm really glad we BS now because now we won't later. Oh, future.
You guys have no idea how much we want to include. Okay, next. All right, the Furious Five continues. Next topic.
Number 2, and we'll be quick on this. Do you feel better or worse about the Patriots? I promise, we have to. Do you feel better or worse about them than you did at the start of camp?
I feel better about them by a whisker, and here's why. I don't think the defense is going to be as good. Although it's going to be great to start the season, hopefully with a very lucratively extended Christian Gonzalez, as opposed to last year when we saw what happened when they should have gone 0-3 over the first 3 games, were it not for one misplaced Devin Achane foot down in Miami. I feel better about them because I think this offense is going to be awesome. I like not just like better, not just really good. Like there's a chance some weeks the Patriots may just overwhelm people. Because I think A.J. Brown has like I said earlier, a massive season incoming. I think Drake's going to be better. How can Drake be better than, number 2 in MVP? He's pissed at the way he played in the Super Bowl. He's going to be better at his reads. He's got elite talent. His 1 and 2 receiver, he's never had receivers this good. Dobbs is a 1.5, would be a 1 on some teams, a definitive solid 2 on this team. A.J. Brown is an elite 1, no bones about it. I think he's got better talent everywhere. The line actually might be a little bit better. And I think the running back room is at least the 1 and the 2 are rock solid. Like I think that offensively, they might be able to overwhelm people. I do think the defense is probably not going to be quite as good. And that's, again, why the Patriots are now taking depth-related flyers, making moves in the offseason.
So I wrestled with this because at the start of camp, I wasn't sure what was going to happen with Christian Gonzalez. I was open to anything. And if I had to bet, as I did then, I thought he would participate like he did in minicamp. Positional drills, cool. Stretching, great. All right, 7-on-7s, we'll see. Team period, see ya. And I thought this would drag on, as it has. But he has participated more. When arguably your best player is having a good camp, aside from the 2 weeks that he missed with an injury that really, really bothered him, obviously, given he was great yesterday. That's a good thing. Here's what's not good. Because as you put a whisker better, I think I'm a little whisker worse. And that is also to say I'm starting from a place of I think this is an 11-6 football team. I think that's still the record. Just
no way. That's my record too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I got 11-6 wild card.
Harold Landry just has not been seen. And the guys that I've seen in his place, there are 3 rosterable edges, including Gabe Jacas, who is clearly behind. So when your edge pass rush is in the state that it is, and you're already dealing with depth that I covered at inside linebacker, D-tackle, the offensive line's a little bit more banged up. The starters are good, don't get me wrong, but we all knew the injury luck was going to be worse this year. And when you have one of your more sturdy players at one of those positions, a premium position, edge, it just puts a lot more stress on the other ones around the defense. And I just feel a little bit worse because I thought Harold Landry would be back, and I thought I would like Jacas and Ponder better than I have Andrew Jones, frankly, to this point in camp.
Yeah. At this point now, Harold Landry's knee is like whenever 40. Like you try to start a car that's like 5 years past due for getting junked out or traded in. Like you just hear it grinding when you start up and you're like, come on. Like it's done. I actually wouldn't be surprised if we see very little Landry this year. When your head coach who loves this player brought him in last year to help reset the culture and be all the new Mike Vrabel Patriots are all about. When you bring in a Vrabro like Harold Landry, who gets off to such a good start, misses time later on because of this degenerative knee condition, and then Vrabel says, I feel so bad for him, then you better know that the clock isn't just ticking. I think it's expired. Boom.
Well done, my friend. Let's just do the pass rush now, because this is the other hot button issue. Is like, oh my God, how's Gabe Jacas look?
Okay, there isn't one outside of Milton Williams. Full Rosenhaus style. Next question.
But so the preseason game was not good from Gabe Jacas. We just declared we don't really care, unless for me it's inexperience or a position where it's hard to simulate in practice. He had a good practice against the Eagles. I wasn't watching defenses stay, but I trust with my entire heart and brain the notes I got from Doug Kai to put in our collective Harold practice recap. Said he had a would-be sack. And then yesterday when I'm at practice, he had 3 pressures that forced 3 throwaways and a run stop. Granted, against a second-team offensive line for the Patriots. And he was on the second-team defense, which shows you what they think of him. Again, I don't think he'll be up to speed for the opener more than like a rotational role. And there's some overrunning plays that he's going to have to work on.
Like 17 snaps tops, something like that.
But we knew they were going to rely on him coming into this year. And if they do play him more than, like you said, 17, I think that's a good line. That shows you they're relying on him even more than we thought, because right now he's just not ready. And that's not unexpected given everything that happened with the contract. But ideally, you don't have to play a guy who's not ready. You know what I mean? So that's the point. The point here is the pass rush now becomes more schematic than it does on talent. Until Landry comes back, until Jacas develops, and you have a little bit more depth there, this is going to be on Zach Core to draw up all of the Rex Ryan dark art shit to get home. You know what I mean? Brian Flores, like just, and they've got it in there. But that's going to be their pass rush.
There is not, there are elite players. There are 3 elite players in my estimation on the Patriots defense. There's Milton Williams, there's Robert Spillane, and there's Christian Gonzalez. Then you have a lot of very good players. And then you've got guys that I think would struggle potentially to make a lot of other rosters, which is why you say schematic, I say problematic. I think this is going to be a real issue for the Patriots. If you're going to have to rely on generating pressures, stunts, schemes, and blitzes, as opposed to guys just winning their battles, being faster, quicker, smarter, and sharper than others, then the Patriots pass rush is going to be something of legend and a bit of a facade. And that's a real concern. And what that's going to end up doing is potentially, Callahan, having people going, how come Marcus Jones and Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez, Bayard got exposed there? How come their pass coverage numbers aren't like, they're not like 1, 2, 3 in PFF? That's because they have to cover people for 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, whereas at times last year they only had to cover people for 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, even though I know they generated more pass rush last year with schematic results as opposed to, dynamic results. It's a problem. It's a legitimate problem. I mean, I ask in return, a return serve grenade, bigger issue, offensive line depth or defensive end depth?
Defensive end depth.
Agreed.
Because I just think you're going to have to rotate there more often, right? So it's not only just the threat of injury, but I can trust that those starting 5 offensive linemen can play 100% of the snaps. Like Harold Landry played a lot of snaps last year before the injury. He was still like in the 80s, I think. And who's going to be that 20%? Like Quintavious Hutchins right now is your number 4 outside linebacker. He's a 7th-round rookie. And congrats to all the BC football fans that one of your guys might actually make the roster. And I don't know if he's on my 53-man or not, but that's
Conley might make the roster. So that when Landry, like this team's going to be loaded with BC cast-offs.
Well, and here's the other thing about the offensive line, because this happened yesterday, and so I haven't talked about it here. Greg Van Roten, who they signed and started for the Giants the last 2 years and was McDaniels before that, and was a street free agent for a reason. He's 36.
Yep.
He took first-team reps as a backup, rotated in to team drills at left guard, right guard, and center. Whenever Ben Brown comes back, and he started at right guard, Van Roten did, and then you got 30 seconds. I feel better about those two as your 6th and 7th offensive linemen, plus Caleb Lomu or Marcus Bryant if he ever comes back. I can't say the same about the edge depth.
No, I mean, at least like Van Roten, which sounds like the worst Ryan Reynolds movie ever made. Like at least this guy's like a semi-dependable veteran. Like, what you're gonna get. Like he's your equivalent. Like I always like to say, of like, there's your diner turkey club. It's not going to be the best sandwich you ever had, but will it get the job done if you're driving, making long commutes between practice and home, like some of us did before and do now? Yeah, that'll get the job done. But there's a good chance that the Patriots, maybe put it this way, Callahan, maybe people that were hooting and hollering, like, why wasn't Boutte traded for edge depth? Maybe that becomes the thing that you're talking about on Boston Sports Tonight in a few weeks when the Patriots open up the season 2-1, but they only have 9 pressures and 2 sacks on the season thus far. It's like, woo. Remember, they only got 19 sacks in 2024. Remember, 9 of them came in one game. Patriots had a historically low sack total in 2024. Half of them came against Caleb Williams, in that god-awful Chicago game. How do I know that? Because I was there and I watched I languished just like everyone else in attendance at Soldier Field that day. That was a rough take. So the priority number one, concern number one heading into the season, who TF is going to rush the passer?
Okay. We have 4 minutes for this question.
Okay.
Where are they in the AFC?
I think the Patriots are, give or take, team 5 or 6. Like they're a playoff team. Again, like I do legitimately have, I don't mind. I doubt I'll be back on the pod before the kickoff of the season. So I'm happy to put, my predictions, feelers, and thoughts out there. Like, I think the Bills win the East. I think the Patriots are a wild card team. I think the Bengals and the Ravens make it from the AFC North. I think that the Texans win the AFC South. I'm not sure about the Jags just yet. And I have no idea who the hell is going to win the AFC West. So I think basically at this point now, you'll get two, and you'll get a 1 and a 2 coming out of the West and the South. And I think the Bengals ultimately represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. So much so that, get this, the game is going to Patriots make it possibly to divisional round. If not, ultimately their ceiling is AFC Championship this year, if everything goes right. But in Barnwellian principle and fashion, I think some of the balls that bounce their way or some of the ankles that broke their way last year don't go their way this year. So you don't get as many lucky wins. Like, you can't throw pick sixes early in the game in Cincinnati and depend on old man Flacco drinking from the wrong grill late in the game. You can't expect that CJ Stroud is going to spit up all over himself in the playoffs. Like, he was just as important as Drake May, Kayshon Boutte, Pop Douglas, or anyone else on that field in that divisional round win for them last year. My Super Bowl prediction, a rematch of the last Super Bowl that was played, the first and last Super Bowl that was played at SoFi, Rams versus Bengals.
I like it. I have the Patriots third. I have them second in the AFC. Here's the problem.
Second.
It's so close at the top. We're like, if we were doing a valedictorian rankings, if you were ranking nerds at your high school, all of these teams or all of these kids are separated by, did you get a 98.2? Was this a 97.9%? Was your GPA 3.94 or 95? It's so close with them and Buffalo. So that is my one tier A. Okay. I have questions about Joe Brady as a rookie head coach with a first-year defensive coordinator, even though I believe in Jim Leonard. I just don't think their defensive personnel is suited for them. Since you did pick, spoiler, I think the Patriots are going to win the AFC East again, but it'll be close. It's going to be a great rivalry.
Yep.
This is about my belief in Drake May, powering as he did a year ago. Everything for the Patriots been out to a new level, and he'll have to carry them against a harder schedule and with injury luck. He can do it. He's so special. Tier 1B.
He is
the
awesome.
Texans, who I think are being underrated, and the Ravens. The Ravens have similar issues as I just described for the Bills. First-year head coach, first-year offensive coordinator who's very young. I think they're all very sound schematically. I like the things that they do. But when you sit in bigger chairs, you're going to have bigger problems and responsibilities. We'll see how that goes. 1C, I have Chargers, Broncos, and Jaguars. So I can't get there with the Bengals until I see the health. The Chiefs, maybe they hit on all these rookies again. And supposedly they're making plays all over the place, and it'll be fun to watch. But I'm not there now, even as an Arm Mason Thomas draft stand. Here's a 40-second grenade for you. But that's right. I have them second or tied for first, whatever you want to call it, with Buffalo, and then everyone else right after.
I could see it being Chargers and Broncos out west, and maybe, nipping the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars won a lot more games last year than that roster was. They got, they lose Etienne. Now they're going with Rootin' Tootin'.
It's a well-coached team.
They're wide. It is. Liam Cohen, sneaky good. And don't forget, he was supposed to be very proud of himself, as that woman told him in the post-game presser last year when the ball, I know that was a very hot button topic for a lot of people as well. I just don't see why, to me, the other, Josh Allen and Drake May are joined by Joe Burrow at the top of the quarterback class in the AFC when he's healthy. And I know that's a big, as Joe Namath famously said, if, such a big word for only 2 letters. If Joe Burrow is healthy, he's the best right-handed quarterback in football. The man is as accurate. I think he's as poised. He's got I love that fighting spirit about him as well. And it's tough to argue with how elite the weaponry is. There's no better 1-2 when on the field than Higgins and Chase. And people are sleeping on Chase Brown. That guy is That guy does it all. He absolutely does it all. Their offensive line is fine. They invested heavily, finally, for a change on the defensive side of the ball. I think, and they play a lesser schedule. Whereas the Patriots also have to play a tougher schedule this year as well. So I think these things all factor into the AFC calculus. But we'll see come January.
That was over 6 minutes.
Damn it.
we can't.
We suck at 4. We can't do 5. We suck at 4.
I can't be a jerk to you. I can't. I will interrupt. I will not. Anyway, let's go. This is going to be a hard 5 minutes because I have some small things to share about Christian Gonzalez, and this has been a topic on radio and TV and podcasts for months. He speaks today. The most important stuff that can be said about Christian Gonzalez will be later after Elliott Wolf and Ryan Cowden. Not right now, but we should talk about this. Mm-hmm. I am here to tell you, I can echo what Mike Giardi has said, that the year one money is very important to Christian Gonzalez. And I think some of the stuff structurally with the contract, based on what I've heard, is at the center of these negotiations. And meaning that the setup of the deal is not wildly different from what the Patriots are accustomed to doing, but it is a little different. And Gonzalez is not budging. So again, I'm not the first person to say this, but I can confirm what Giardi and others have said. Obviously, Gonzalez wants more than they're willing to give, and is around a hard line. And the basics are often the most common sticking points here, right? Total money and guaranteed money. I don't have the specifics on those, but my understanding is that's also what they're dealing with in addition to the structure. There is a small rumbling going around, though, and this is not a tactic unique to the Patriots, but in this negotiation, maybe some others, that some agents have groused that they wish the Patriots had a real contract negotiator. And this is not unique to him, but in this case, Matt Groh is the guy up front who's dealing with more salary cut stuff lately in negotiations. And this guy, whether it's Matt Groh or the guy who does this for the Steelers or the Chiefs, will get talking points, but they can't actually do anything to iron out a deal. Meaning, if the agent comes with something different, or the player says, we want this, what if we trade for that? He goes, well, I got to go back and get more information. So Elliott Wolf and the Crafts are a little bit more removed from this. And this is a common tactic for teams because it frustrates the player and the agent and it prolongs things. And the GMs are kind of up there in the ivory tower. They get messengers that come up and tell them what's going on. It keeps the agents at a distance. But I do think that there's more involvement here, whether it's the Crafts, Richard Miller, their cap guy, who is criminally under-discussed as we bring up all these things and in charge of cash flow and the Crafts' interest in balancing the cap sheet for the Patriots. But Groh is the one kind of here. He's not incapable. He's got a law degree from Virginia. Obviously, was Belichick's last, puppet GM.
If you want a fast team, you draft fast players.
Why did you give him an accent he doesn't have?
That's exactly what he sounded like.
That is not what he sounded like.
If you want a fast team, you draft fast players.
I had a little less twang to it.
Guys,
by the way, I have to send you my fake Pat McAfee country rap song I did on the radio the other day. Forgive my twang.
Oh my God, boy. What would be a tougher listen? You and I trying to stay with 5 minutes on a topic, or Pat McAfee's album? Woo.
It's brutal. Anyway, I think my song was better. I wrote it in the breaks of the show that I did. Point is, there are some things here that they have not, at least as of a couple days ago, made a ton of ground on that are both common in terms of the tactics and how things go, as well as what you're arguing over. And maybe it doesn't get done. Maybe it does. But the year one stuff, I just wish it was simpler than it's been. And it's not right now. Because the Devin Witherspoon contract had a bigger leap in guarantees. Something like $50 million to $59 million, fully guaranteed. I tear an ACL tomorrow. That's the money he still gets from the Seahawks. That the Patriots should be willing just to take what Devin Witherspoon got, a small bump, except for guarantees, above Trent McDuffie, who had the best contract among the corners in this market. They should then do the same from Devin Witherspoon for Christian Gonzalez, a small bump across the board. Mm-hmm. But how soon and how much money is up front is something that's involved here with these negotiations, as well as the people who aren't hands-on. And maybe that deadlines for action. So I think a lot of the stuff that I just shared could change very quickly. But that's what I got on this front.
All right. So that's all well sourced, well enumerated, and it's a lot to chew on. And it's probably a lot more of the actual inner workings that the common man and fan is not familiar with. I'm just going to say this about the Patriots front office, inner workings, contractuals, and whatnot. And I thought they've done a pretty good job thus far. Like last year, they got Marcus Jones on the 3 for 36 ahead of him getting in. Like that was a really good deal. The Milton Williams deal. Hey, Carolina, you can't snatch him away. We want this guy. 4 for 104. Like they seem to be more contractually aggressive. And now it seems like they're falling back into the old Belichickian, hey, the Crafts are super cheap, days and ways. It makes me just want to say, like, I wish we knew what the order, like between Groh and Wolf and Stretch and Cowden and it's like the freaking cast of a Robert Altman movie up there. Like, can we just have a more clear delineation of who's in charge in terms of negotiating the deals? Like, I pine for having a Les Snead style approach. Like, I'm the one that goes through, and then Sean says yes or no afterwards once I hammer it out. Blank them picks. Here's the money. We'll kick that proverbial salary cap can down the road. This is bananas to me that this is continuing to extend, but it shouldn't surprise anyone. And I think we all thought that once the Witherspoon deal was signed with the same agent representing both Witherspoon and Gonzalez, side note to that, must be going to be a real nice Christmas that insert that name of that guy's here's house. Holy smokes. That it would just be, all right, here's a little rum topper on the Devin Witherspoon cocktail, if you will. And Gonzo, you got, a million extra, McDuffie got a little more than, Singletary and Stingley, whatever. But the fact that this is dragging on now is just mind numbing. And I just want to ask on behalf of all fans, do you have any intel, insider info as to whether or not Gonzo is actually trying to work Gonzo is making them work some sort of deal that makes him the highest paid cornerback next year and the year after that and the year after that when the cap goes up and up and up because he thinks he's that good or that much better than everyone else?
I don't have anything specific to that, but I can tell you, like, I think it was Bedard, and maybe this was improperly aggregated, which is like,
no, I think
it was frustration on our end, right? Where we're very careful with the words and the context is so important. But now I understand how players, when they are taken out of context, though not always, we put the quote out there. Mm-hmm. You said it. Yep. Feel dealing with the media. Anyway, like the stuff, like 18% of the cap or whatever it might be. It's not going to effing happen. Like, no, it's that's also way too much. If you sat down and did the math on that, that's way over the numbers that we're talking about, which are like 35 million a year. How much it guarantees? 60, 65, 70. So forget that stuff. I'm sure, as I just said, that the structure and the things that he's wanting up front are really important and kind of sticking points here. But the idea that, like, who wouldn't want a contract that does not, at the top of the market like this? Like, of course he wants to stay near the top and protect himself, but I don't think it's such an outrageous act that this couldn't be done. Otherwise there would be no hope. But they are apart, or were as of a couple of days ago. And look, that's not news because that's just where we've been. But it is good that he's practiced like that. That's and was look like himself.
Yep. The phantom ankle injury, like, ooh, my arm, it's broken.
And they play along with him. I think that's smart. So as far as like the power structure, because I think that's a good thing to remember here, like Elliot Wolf has the backing of the Crafts. The Crafts are in charge. When it comes to this big deal that has to be done, again, I mentioned he's kind of like distant, hands off. A lot of GMs operate that way. This is not unique to New England. This is not like a big deal, but it is to kind of paint a picture of why things might take a little bit longer when your lead negotiator is having to go, I'll go see, I'll go ask, blah, 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 blah. Vrabel is the guy setting the menu, dictating the terms. But in cases like this, he gets to play good cop. And the front office is bad cop. So he might say Monday, walking back, we're all the front office. And Cowden is below Wolf. Stretch is involved, and Vrabel's going to have a bigger say. But look, Elliot Wolf is the one looking at roster moves and scouting year-round. Vrabel's going to have a big seat at the table. But it's the Crafts, then the two of them, and then everybody else.
Yep. I think that's what everyone believes. And should Patriots fans, I hate to do a Mike Greenberg, sort of like going into the break, like teaser FM radio style, but like, should Patriots fans, I know it's it, but should Patriots fans believe and take Robert Kraft at his word? Is this some more Kraft work, or is this the straight up skinny that the contract offer they had prepared for him would make him the highest paid Patriot player ever and the richest at his position?
Sure. But that is also to say, what is the biggest city in America? What is your measurement there? Is it population or is it landmass? Because Jacksonville would wave their hand and go, we're the biggest city by land mass in
Jacksonville.
America.
Jacksonville is nothing more than a Dollar General with coastline that smells like corn nuts.
So beautiful line by you. And let me back you up by saying they might have offered that coastline and corn nuts and be like, well, this is technically the biggest contract. That's the biggest city in America by this metric. This is the biggest contract. Okay, cool. What do players care about? Again, it's total money and it's guarantees. And in some cases, again, what are you doing year 1, year 2 payouts? And they're just not there right now. Again, as of Tuesday morning, August 25th, we could get notification as soon as we hang up. But anyway, the reason I'm glad you brought that up is because my concern right away, right when it happened, day one, go back and listen to the podcast with Mike Jerry, was I don't care about how true that is or not. My suspicion is that it is not. It is something he is able to say. What I know for a fact is that the Crafts are bothered by the constant critique and something that becomes increasingly by the day as they do spend in free agency. 2 top 10 finishes the last 2 years, or last 3 years, excuse me. 2 of the last 3 years, top 10 spenders in free agency. They did that twice in the last 10 years of Belichick. There's clearly a sea change here. He said that to push back against that critique and narrative. Sick and tired of it. The sensitivities to that. To me, that's not worth giving voice to if it's going to come at the expense of pissing off Christian Gonzalez in his camp. And by all indications that I've gotten, rumblings here and there, yeah, they were not happy. And you heard this in the reports from Ian Rappaport saying, well, if cooler heads prevail. Jeremy Fowler saying, yeah, Gonzalez wasn't wild about hearing that. So that is another thing that kind of gets in their own way. I don't think that's going to prevent a deal. It's prohibit one. But even if that's technically true by total money, right? Okay, here's 150 million. What's guaranteed? Is it 50? Because that's not going to cut it. Why are you even doing that?
No,
so you
it's got to be. It's got to be 100 million or more guaranteed. It has to be at this point. Like it's got to be like what wasn't Witherspoon's 101 million? I mean, I know you can't get a 3
Well, there's fully guaranteed. There's total guaranteed, and like people can go find the numbers, and it will be higher than that. And some of it is like guaranteed by a certain date in the future if you're still on the roster, you know. And so
right.
The thing they really care about, again, if I tear my ACL tomorrow, what am I going to get if I, not retire, but can't play?
Right.
So anyway, I got to go.
Yeah.
Got to talk to Ellie Wolf, Ryan Cowden, maybe Christian Gonzalez, Greg Van Roten.
Yep.
It should be Greg Van Roten's big day, and everyone is just crashing in with bigger deals and contracts and hot buttons. And I just want to talk to the new old lineman.
Put it this way. If the new tackle they just signed to the roster has to play meaningful snaps this season, it'll be murder, he Van Roten. Oh. I'm Nick Fitzy Stevens, and that'll do. Oh, by the way, I'm not letting you out of here. I'm not letting you out of here with 2 things. A, it's your first draft next time we meet up at Vitamin C, be it in Weymouth or Plymouth.
Yes.
You have to buy first round because of what took place with our summertime Patriots roster draft. And B, you did mention in our off-air conversation last night that I get to choose the outfit that you're going to have to wear in a podcast coming forward. And as the Star Wars nerd, everyone that's watching right now, all 29 viewers that are left in hour number 6 of this podcast that we said was going to be 30 to 45 minutes, can see the cardboard Darth Vader corkboard from my childhood lingering over my right shoulder. Obviously, everybody knows that you will never find a greater hive of villainy and scum in the entire galaxy than you and I do in a podcast. I'm a Star Wars nerd. So it's got to have to be something Star Wars related that you wear in a podcast to be determined in the future as punishment for getting housed by me in the roster draft this summer. I was going to make it the Leia Slave 1 outfit because nothing would be more embarrassing for you. The Princess Leia Jabba slave outfit. However, I think you dressed like a Jedi, maybe like, Qui-Gon, young Obi-Wan style, like with cloak and, white tunic, etc. Repeating every 10 minutes in the pod, I am one with the Force and Fitzy is one with me or something along those lines, or like, may the Force be with you always. Like, I think that is appropriate punishment, and all will be right and balanced in the galaxy once again if you do so.
This might be expensive, but if I found a Chewie outfit and I didn't wear the head,
all right,
does that work?
Judges, we'll accept.
Okay. All right. I'll go back to you.
Make it Star Wars related, okay?
Star Wars related. I have a solo podcast Friday. The 53-man roster projection will be done. I will be in a costume because I lost our 6-8 scrimmage draft, and I'm glad you brought that up. You
didn't just lose, guy.
And no, I got housed. I got housed that I could not share with people in the Patriots organization how bad it was. When I said, I did this on my show, and they did that scrimmage a couple of weeks ago before they got the weekend off at training camp. And I was like, I can't even show you. It was so bad. Granted, it snapped, I think, a couple-year winning streak for me based on the votes that we had, the polls. But you and I are not very good at following up. I mean, more often than not, some beers here and there from the bets. But this will be paid off. I think this is a good new precedent. We're going to start the winning streak next year for the summer tradition here on the show. I I got to go. Lovely to have you back. Probably won't be before the opener, but definitely soon thereafter. And I'm so glad, again, I'll say it again, that you were free to do this and out of Audio Alcatraz because you're back, baby. And I think this was our best pod in a long time.
Enjoyed every single second of it as well. All you have to do is shine the Pat symbol in the sky, and I will come running for the good of Gridiron in Gotham. Love you, pal. These are absolutely my favorite. And hey, everybody, regardless of whether the Patriots are 11-6, 14-3, 9-8, or whatnot, football is back, baby. Life renews. And to all of our wives and significant others out there, I would recommend that you read the tale of Hades and Persephone, because you had us for 6 months and now you lose us for 6 months. You didn't think I was going to, hey, I had to go. I mean, it was the summer of the Odyssey. I had to do some sort of Greek mythology to punch out, right?
May the force be with you, Fitzy.